People, though, there who are forced to make the terrible choice of staying put and being bombed and starved to death, or abandoning homes that they've lived in for generations, should, at the very least, be able to evacuate safely. The ceasefire and evacuation plan worked out with Turkey's leadership appears to have been working until this morning when it was reportedly suspended. We thank Turkey for its leadership and its ongoing relentless efforts to help save these people's lives. Again, these are the people left in a very small corner of eastern Aleppo who are freezing, hungry, and still being shot at and bombed because of a failure to respect a cessation of hostilities. We need to get the arrangement that was working for the thousands of people who did get out. We need to get that arrangement up and running again as soon as possible. Civilians' lives, and it's very clear that it's not just dozens or hundreds of civilians, as some would have you believe, but thousands, and indeed the UN and the ICRC say tens of thousands of civilians' lives depend on it. The reports of attacks on fleeing civilians are horrifying. Firing upon weak, starving, and wounded civilians, disappearing men and boys, forcing others to join the regime's forces on the front lines. These are despicable acts. They are contrary to the laws of war, and they need to stop immediately. And the permanent members of this United Nations Security Council who have blocked unity on Syria and on Aleppo need to make these crimes stop. Russia has helped deliver Aleppo to the Syrian government. Surely Russia, in exchange, can secure actually safe corridors for civilians who wish to leave. We support France's initiative to secure a UN Security Council resolution to address the need for monitoring, for humanitarian assistance, for safe evacuation. It is critical, it is urgently needed, and we think this resolution will enhance the efforts of the humanitarians on the ground to get people out, as well as the efforts of Turkey. Should Russia and Assad regime allies continue to block action in the UN Security Council, we are prepared to work with other members to consider how the Security Council can help protect civilians who continue to suffer immensely because of its inaction. We are prepared to examine all options, including the possibility of requesting the convening of an emergency special session of the General Assembly. And again, this is especially if the Council is not able to find a path forward to help those people in desperate need of safe evacuation. Just in closing, I want to stress that Russia is not merely a country that needs to use its leverage over the regime. Of course it is that, but it is a party to the conflict. It has special forces on the ground. Its drones are flying overhead, reporting facts and non-facts, misinformation back to the outside world. Of course, its airstrikes were pivotal, bunker buster airstrikes and other airstrikes for this seizure of residential neighborhoods and what has been one of the most beautiful cities in the world. So having put all of that in play, having secured for the regime the brutal and bloody taking of eastern Aleppo, the least that Russia can do is ensure that UN monitors, ICRC monitors, and others are present with civilians so that men between 18 and 40 stop getting disappeared, stop getting pulled off buses, stop getting taken to undisclosed locations or to the front lines. Surely that is not too much to ask after this horror that has been inflicted on these innocent civilians. Thank you.
Thanks, Ambassador. You may have just answered my question kind of then. The call for international observers, who should be doing that? Because as Ambassador Chokin pointed out earlier, and we have seen, it can take weeks, if not months, for UN observers to be on the ground. So who should do that? And are you expecting action on this over the weekend? Should it go to a vote, even if Russia doesn't support it?
On the monitors, there can be a tendency to overcomplicate matters if you don't want to do anything. We should avoid that. On the ground, the UN has reported to us within the last hour that they are eager and willing to carry out monitoring, that they believe that their presence, however substantial that presence is, will make a difference, that the presence of independent observers can deter some of the worst horrors, that they can themselves perform a protection role, presence as protection, and that they're ready, that they have these people on the ground. They have Syrians who work for the United Nations, and of course, because of the UN country team that is active, whether it's the World Health Organization, the World Food Program, UNICEF, UNDP, UN officials are present in Syria. So this is not a hyper-complicated matter. They need to be allowed access to civilians that they have worked with in different parts of the country throughout this conflict. So we need to move swiftly. The UN is saying their people are there. The issue is not that they're not there. The issue is that the regime, Russia, Iran, and the militia they are backing aren't allowing UN people to reach civilians and then to be present at the sites where people are crossing from eastern Aleppo into other territory, whether that's into Idlib or into government territory. So again, imagine what you would want if you were a family in eastern Aleppo. You would want some independent foreign presence to be with you, even if it's never risk-free when you have perpetrators like those who exist on the other side. In terms of the timing of what's happening here in New York, I don't think we know yet precisely what the sequence is going to be. I think the French are eager to put their resolution, which we strongly support, quickly to a vote, because it enshrines the core principles of how this evacuation should occur, and it's meant to save lives in the present. So those negotiations will occur today. I think we're hoping to vote over the weekend at least, because, again, of the extreme urgency. And we are looking at other steps as well, because, as we've seen, there can't be too much pressure given the human stakes. I mean, any place we can try to shine a spotlight on the depravity of what the perpetrators are doing, but also on the importance of this, getting humanitarian aid in and getting a safe evacuation out, we're going to take that opportunity.
South Sudan, is there an update on your resolution that was not passed yesterday? And also the Washington Post says that UNMISS gave weapons to a warlord who in turn killed civilians. It's based on a small arms survey study, but it's a pretty troubling report. Have you seen it, and what's the U.S. think about it?
I have not seen the report. On the UNMISS mandate renewal, we are confident that we will be able to have the renewal that we had hoped to have yesterday. We will have it today. And we should have very strong council support, and the United States believes that the resolution is an upgrade from the resolution authorizing UNMISS last year, including by describing the dire deterioration of events on the ground, the spate of sexual violence, the number of refugees flowing into Uganda and elsewhere, and the terrible risks that have been flagged by multiple UN officials of a brutal, what started as a brutal political conflict deteriorating further into mass atrocities or even genocide.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. Abdul Hamid Sayam from Al-Quds Al-Arabi. I want to move to the question of Palestine. I mean, the President-elect Trump had wanted to appoint David Friedman as the U.S. ambassador to Israel, and he's known for supporting settlement activities. Also, one of his assistants also said moving the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem is a priority for the incoming administration. Is the Obama administration prepared to say something or do something in the last few days left in office? Thank you.
Thank you. Let me make very clear that we operate in this country and always have on the one president at a time rule. I think that's a very wise rule to live by, and we're certainly living by it here as we go strong through the tape to try to get real work done on Aleppo, South Sudan, and a host of other issues. So I'm not going to comment, and nor I think is anyone in the administration commenting on what various officials are speculating on in terms of the next administration, various Trump campaign and transition officials, that is. On the question of New York and any action here, no resolution has been tabled, and so I'm also not going to speculate on a hypothetical action that is not pending. Thank you. Thank you.